Refresh for 2021, the luxury sports sedan enters into 2022 with this IS 300 in the Matador Red here at Lexus of Wesley Chapel. It's going to receive the premium package, which is an update. In the interior, memory seats for the driver, a rear sunshade, rivals like your Genesis G70, your Audi A4, but the difference between the three, this one's going to be maybe the better price point, and you get the performance to back it with the luxury all into one. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides. We're going to go over all the specs and details starting now. The Lexus IS 300 keeps the sleek new design, and the best part about it is different tiers will give different specs. On the front fascia here, it's going to be still sporty with the enlarged grille, with the gloss gray inserts, chrome surrounding it. The IS 350 F Sport will have larger side air curtains. These ones are non-functional, and they don't even give us the gloss gray, which I wish they would have instead of this matte black. On the headlamps, it's going to be bi-LED with the LED L signature daytime running. I do like how it just flows into the aerodynamics on the hood. As for the Audi A4 or the Genesis G70, the styling that you're going to get with this is going to keep the luxury heritage, but it adds the performance driven. It's going to be pretty wide at 72.4 inches, and it's a touch taller than a 2020 model at 56.5 inches. Even though you have that spoiler lip that pretty much comes out, 5.5 inches of clearance. Just something to take in consideration. The fenders, they flare out the way the bumper structure is, encasing these 19-inch multi-spoke alloy wheels, which is part of the premium package. The disc reading behind it at 13.1 inches, the rear at 11.7, double wishbone front suspension, a multi-link rear suspension. Both the front and the rear will have your coil springs and your anti-roll bars. A length at 185.4 inches with the wheelbase at 110.2 inches. Electronic brake force distribution. The four-door sedan sets the luxury tone with the chrome surrounding it and the black gloss in between and on the top of the mirror cap. Unfortunately, on the lower, they decided to put the matte black yet again, so it does copy the front, and I don't really like that because the gloss black and even the chrome would make it look a little bit more sporty or a little bit more luxurious. When I look at this and I'm thinking about the Audi or the Genesis, I like the styling because the chrome really does give a unique look to it, and the aerodynamic lines just flow wrapping around the vehicle with your new singular tail lamps that taper to mere millimeters, reaching into the center. IS 300 badging. Unfortunately, the matte black returns, and it's pretty much the whole lower bumper. And I wish that this was a diffuser. I get it. On the IS 350 F Sport, it's going to look more aggressive, and you're going to add diffusers. It's going to look more nice. But we have dual exhaust outlets, which that already looks nice. So just adding this and no paint trim over it just gives a little bit of an eyesore, because looking at the Audi A4 or the Genesis G70, I feel at this area it's going to win the battle, because look how much work that they put to these LED tail lamps. They could have done a little bit more to the rear. Going inside to your cargo at 10.8 cubic feet. Audi will be the best in space. There's a spare tire tucked underneath. The rear bench split folds at a 60-40 split where your reverse camera and your rear parking sensors. But you know, turbocharged engine, we got dual exhaust notes. We need to hear that exhaust sound. The the performance and styling elements that the Lexus IS 300 gives us is remarkable. I do like how they have updated the styling and they back the performance with a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder producing 241 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. That's paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission achieving 21 to 31 mpgs as 0 to 60 is just under 7 seconds. Quarter mile at 16.8 seconds. As the rivals numbers, and probably everyone knows, it's going to be the least in performance with horsepower, torque, and the numbers. But the luxury you get, the savings when you're comparing it to Audi is going to be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000. Plus, when you add the premium package to it, you would have to add premiums to the Audi A4. The same thing with the Genesis. So when you're comparing apples to apples, bang for your buck, performance and luxury. Let me know in the comments what you think about the 2022 Lexus IS 300 as we go into the interior, go over the tech, and take this for our test run. Entering inside the IS 300, you're going to receive 38.2 inches of headroom, 44.8 inches of legroom, leather bucket front seat in the beige with your perforated, your contrast stitching, 10-way power adjustment for the driver, 8-way power adjustment for the passenger, heated and ventilated, bi-level dashboard, and I like the two-tone look because it gives more of a luxury than sport styling. And for the IS 300, I want to see a little bit of luxury added because we're losing it in performance when we're looking at the rivals. The infotainment screen is the standard 8-inch. We don't have navigation. It is a touch screen. We have FM, AM, Bluetooth connectivity, XM. You also can do everything through your touch pad. Switching to reverse, you do have a reverse camera with full trajectory. Because it's touch, you can also change the dynamic layout and take those dynamic grid lines off as well. They do have an optional 10.3 infotainment screen with navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Amazon Alexa, Bluetooth connectivity. All of that is standard. Underneath it, the analog clock just keeps that luxury styling, and the air vents, you'll notice there's a little bit of a tweak to them, and they moved the cup holders back from 2020. Dual climate control settings with a CD player. All your switches and gauges are right here, so it's almost like an airplane. I do like that they're doing it though, because again, I want to have some attribute to make me go away from the Audi and the Genesis. In this little setup here, believe it or not, I think it does a great job. Open up inside here and you got two USB ports and a 12 volt and some storage. I would say you can fit maybe two 16.9 ounce water bottles. Elbows are going to be pretty soft, and that's actually something that's also cool because this is more of a sports sedan, but they are stressing luxury. Leather-wrapped steering wheel, heated, multi-function with the paddle shifters. The gauge cluster can be configurable, but it's really just to show you an array of information. Now, when you get to the F Sport, that one's going to be more performance-inspired with the digital instruments, almost identical to the LFA digital gauge cluster. So depending on the tier that you get, you can make the car even look more sport derived. Door panel, harder materials on the top. Like we said on the exterior, you got the memory seat for the driver, the wood look, and you got that nice pattern design with the soft materials for your arms to rest. Storage, I'd say you can fit about 3 or 4 16.9 ounce water bottles. The race-inspired cockpit definitely has a sporty styling to it, but really it's the back seats that's questionable for somebody 6'3". Let's see how I look back there. For the back seats, I'm at 36.9 inches of headroom, 32.2 inches of legroom. I fit relatively fine at 6'3". The bolstering, though, is pushing me more like this. That's the only thing. And because it's not such a wide interior, you feel very squished, especially if I had somebody next to me. We'll see how I look in the center in just a second. Cup holders, I'm not a big fan of these ones. I feel like they're just very easy to break. You could fit a 16.9 ounce water bottle. I'd say a 32 ounces max. The floor is not completely flat with your 2 air vents and storage behind both of the front seats. Door panel, harder materials. You're gonna get one touch up and down the wood look. It's gonna be soft materials with the contrast stitching, no storage, but a speaker is all you're going to get in the door panel. And the worst part is I'm looking at the rivals. They have storage. We have nothing back here except for the storage behind the front seats. So that's already something that I dislike. But you know, let's see how I look in the center. Sitting into the center, headroom, you can see, I have no headroom. Legroom is pretty much the same, blocking the central vents. Leg, foot, shoulder, butt, everything is going to be shared. And I sit up, so it is miserable if you're 6'3". I mean, maybe if you're like 5'7", you won't have too many issues, but you would have to be really small in your figure. What I do like about the IS300 is because we have the premium package, we have that power sunshade in the rear, so it actually makes it feel very luxurious, even though we're lacking with storage amenities and USB charging ports. But it's pretty comfortable. It does still have a bit of a sport feel because of the way the bolstering is in the seats. Taking the 2022 Lexus IS 300 out for our test run. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan on vehicles that are base, especially when you're getting into luxury vehicles. I do like that we have the premium package in the vehicle though, because it does add some characteristics to the car and some luxury amenities, because we are lacking on performance with this vehicle. It is the least with horsepower, the least with torque, and unfortunately 0 to 60 quarter mile, it's also the least. But the drive is really what you need to see when you're entertaining any type of sedan, and Lexus does a phenomenal job with the suspensions. Even with this vehicle, ground clearance at 5.5 inches, so you're going to be a little bit lower to the ground. You're going to feel a little bit more roughness because the wheels are upgraded as well. However, it's still very quiet in the cabin. Not Audi quiet, but for an A4, yes, I would definitely say it's basically right on point. Stopping in the middle of the road, 241 horsepower. Here we go. At the end of the day, you know, you're under 7 seconds 0 to 60, and when you're looking at what you're getting with the luxury amenities, you're going to be spot on with the traffic. You don't really have to worry in that attribute. Yes, if you're looking at the Audi and the Genesis, it's going to be a lot quicker. Genesis has a great bang for your buck, but the quality is known for Lexus. If you're looking at the Audi, you're going to spend thousands more, so something to take in consideration. The steering wheel also is just so soft. The seat bolstering surprisingly feels very aggressive and athletic. You would not really expect it considering the numbers, and when you're giving it the go, it doesn't actually feel unsporty. So I do like that they've thrown that in there, because the aerodynamics, you can feel it a little bit with the torque. And I mean, for the dynamics, you can see it stays relatively planted, so it is pretty decent with that. Road noise is pretty significant with these upgraded wheels. You're going to hear it a lot through the wheel wells. Otherwise, I would think the car is really quiet for what it's worth. For a long drive though, just turn on that stereo system and it'll filter everything out. You can really only hear the exhaust note around 2.5 to 3 RPMs. That's when it starts to get a little throaty, but it's a turbocharged 2.0 liter 4-cylinder. You don't really want to hear that type of exhaust note. You want to hear maybe a naturally aspirated V6 or a bi-turbo, something with a little bit more bite, but for the most part, I mean, it does its justice. 258 pound-feet of torque, which is not too much less than the Genesis, and it's pretty close to the Audi. We have it in sport mode, and here we go, guys. I mean, you can see I could catch up to that truck if I really wanted to, but I obviously have to back off because we're not trying to do anything crazy here. Now, there is 3 things I like and 3 things that I dislike. Is anything more than that, I'd be buying this vehicle. The 3 things that I like about it is it does incorporate the heritage of sport and luxury, and they do a pretty decent job, especially with the bolstering in the seat for the front and the rear. So both, you know, anyone in the car is going to feel a little bit more sporty. They don't actually do that when you get into the Genesis or the Audi. You might feel a little bit more in the front seats if you get the sport seats for the Audi. However, you would have to spend a significant update in price for the Genesis. Now check that turn radius at kind of sort of a stop point, and you can actually wrap around pretty good. I would say maybe 2 lanes max. Here we go. The second thing that I like about it goes back into the comfort on the elbow area where you rest your arms, for the armrest, on the door panel, or even in the center, both the back and the front, super comfortable. For the Genesis, it actually feels like it's pushing your arm off the door panel because it's sloped. This one doesn't do that. It kind of hugs it. So I do like that. The last thing that I like about the vehicle is you have a CD player. When you get into Audi and Genesis, Audi, you have to go into the glove box to use a CD player, and that's an add-on feature. So I do like the fact that we still have that. I might sound old, but you know, it's just, you're paying for electronics and entertainment. When you start taking the components away, you end up paying for nothing. Three things that I dislike about the vehicle has to start off with this touchpad because of where it's located. I continuously, if you're looking on the other screen, will hit this and you'll see the red light up. That's because where you rest your arm is right where the touchpad is, and they do it very similar to Acura. The second thing that I dislike about the vehicle has to go with the storage in the rear. There's none. I mean, you have to have storage for a four-door sedan, especially in the door panel, and it's not difficult. Just carve it out. You have plenty of space. You can still put that big speaker in the door panel. The last thing that I dislike is the performance. I kind of wish Lexus would do something with this, and they do it with a lot of their vehicles. They add more performance to the suspension, maybe your wheels to lower weight or carbon fiber. They do all these nice additives, but they forget about the engine every single time. When you go into Toyota, very similar with the TRD. Off-roading specs obviously is there. Do they do anything to the engine? Nothing. It just blows me away because other vehicles offer more performance as the stages go, and they tweak it. Whereas when you get to the Lexus, yes, they offer more performance, but they don't tweak it much more than that. As for the visibility though, you can see really good out of the windscreen. For the rear, pretty good. It's not that long of a vehicle either, and when you're looking at it through the rear view, it actually feels a lot smaller. As for the sides, I mean, you got blind spot monitoring, you got Lexus Safety Sense, so you're pretty much taken care of with that. Would I go Audi or Genesis? Honestly, this is a tough choice. If you're gonna spend a little bit extra money and you're looking for performance, I would definitely suggest the Audi. If you're looking for luxury and performance, but not so much of that this is the one that you want to go with, because again, longevity is really where it's at. Service is going to be the least in the Lexus. So you got to take these things in consideration, especially when you're getting into a luxury brand and you're not going full blown into the 50 or 100,000 price point. If you need to stop on a dime, hard brake, you can do so as well. I'd like to thank Lexus of Wesley Chapel for giving us this 2022 Lexus IS 300 for our car review. If you're already a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Hawkeye community. If not, click that subscribe button, check out the details, the merchandise, the websites, and everything we do here at Hawkeye Rides.